Hey everyone, it's Friday. You know what that means. It's time for another double feature Friday. And this week I'm going to be talking about the 1981 release, The Hand, and 1999's Idle Hands. Let's get into it. I hadn't heard of The Hand before this week when I watched it. It's one of, I think, the only horror film from director Oliver Stone. It came out in 1981, starring Michael Caine, the lead character, played by Michael Caine. His name is John. He is a cartoonist or illustrator. He writes cartoons, and he's fighting with his wife. They're in a pretty rough relationship. And as she's driving them somewhere, he sticks his hand out the window to sort of like wave someone past, and he loses his hand in an accident. That scene was fairly gory. I mean, it's not traumatic or anything like that, but there's a lot more blood than I expected, which kind of kickstarted the movie for me. I don't think this is a particularly very good movie, but somehow it really hit me in the right spot. I was like so in the zone to be watching The Hand, and I just had so much fun watching this film. So it's mostly, I think, a story about the breakdown of a marriage, but Michael Caine loses his hand early on in the film, and then everyone around him is getting murdered, and it's because his hand has reanimated and is crawling around murdering people. I don't think this is a great film. I would give it a 3 out of 5, but it's fun. It's really enjoyable. I really enjoyed the look, the wardrobe, the woman who plays his wife, Anna. Her outfits are so good. The sets are really good, or the locations. I'm not sure if they're actual locations, but like every sort of house or apartment or wherever they are, it looks so authentic and so lived in such an amazing way that I really enjoyed the aesthetic of this film. I do not, however, love Michael Caine as an actor. I find Michael Caine is one of those actors who is the same across the board. I don't think he's ever acting. He's always just showing up and being Michael Caine, and I think the casting is just looking for a Michael Caine. I don't know, whatever. It's fine, but he's just not my favorite. I don't think he's the most interesting actor. But that being said, if I were to pick a favorite Michael Caine movie, I think this would be it, because his performance is pretty good. He really starts unraveling near the end, and you can see it in his performance, which is nice. This movie was a lot gorier than I expected too, which was fun. Coming from Oliver Stone, I feel like Oliver Stone is a very serious director, and I never see, his films are good, I guess, like I enjoy watching them, but I never think of them as being fun. I think this is actually a fun Oliver Stone film, and I think it's one of the first ones he directed too. I think it's worth checking out, especially if you like some gore, if you like horror, if you like the idea of POV shots from the point of view of a hand, which to me does not make sense at all. So you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit, but I think that also adds to the fun, you know, and things are kind of like nonsensical. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I would say in this film it works, or at least it worked for me. I was in a great mood, I guess, when I watched it. Well, and let's talk about the second film, Idle Hands. So when I watched The Hand, I immediately thought of Idle Hands. I had never seen Idle Hands, but it's something that I feel like was so prevalent in the pop culture in the 90s or 2000s that I hadn't seen the film, but I obviously had sort of a projection of what it was about, and I think I was completely wrong. So I also was happy to have the opportunity to finally watch Idle Hands. This movie was released in 1999, and it felt like sort of the pinnacle of the 90s in terms of the cast. Devon Sawa, Jessica Alba, Seth Green had probably the most 90s feel. It was just great. I think my expectations for Idle Hands was so low, especially because I really enjoyed The Hand and I thought it was really well done. Also, I don't normally like movies that came out in the 90s or 2000s, but I think this was just like the cutoff. I think if it came out any later, there was no CGI. All the effects were practical, and there were great effects in this movie. There's some great fun kills, which led to like fun makeup and prosthetics and things like that. I don't know if I want to get into the plot. I think that Idle Hands is so well cast because a lot of the storytelling is so dependent on the performance of the actors, and they did a really good job of selling what was happening in the film. So I think it's just a combination of really good storytelling, or like really good writing, and then really good performances. And I would say that's the case with both of these films. They were well written, well acted, they're fun, they're gory, they're both kind of goofy, but in a really good way. Yeah, I would say check them out. Thanks for watching this video. I think that's it for me for this week. Bye for now.